It's Daybreak! Welcome, everybody, to Daybreak, the map upon which the sun rises. In the top right-hand corner, we have our player from Start Hill. He took Game 1, he lost Game 2. Will he be able to win this match? It's going to take him to face 0 in the finals. If he does, he is Panic. His opponent in the bottom left-hand corner, formerly from the Slayers team, battling it out here versus Panic. Fought his way back to tie up the series, now just a game away from being a match away from taking it to IPL 6. He is Arthur. And a lot is on the line for these guys right now. You know, they are amateur players. They don't particularly necessarily have a chance to go to IPL 6 without this tournament. So this is pretty important for these guys.
Yeah, that's right. Two of the people that were in the semifinals were totally teamless. Now, Startail has been very good about sending up players and stuff like that in the past. So, I mean, there was a potential that if either of their players had qualified in other ways but didn't get the all-expenses-paid trip, that they would have made it out anyway. But regardless, this is a big opportunity. Arthur certainly wants to take advantage of this, but Panic is proving to be a very tough opponent.
That he is. We'll have to see what transpires here on this final game. Openings are pretty standard for these guys. The gateways are timed exactly the same. Yep. And we're seeing players scout for the possibility of proxies right now. That's right.
Got to be diligent about that. Can't let yourself die to anything cheesy at the beginning of games. Even at the professional level, how many games have we seen where people have proxied structures and just because they weren't detected, they end up losing?
So, Kevin, I feel like you're a man who would know this question, and I wonder if a lot of our viewers have ever speculated on it. Why is it called a proxy?
Why is it called a proxy? I don't know the origin of the word, to be honest. So,
all right. Well, this gives an opportunity to everybody out there watching. Tweet at Kevin Naki or myself at Kibbles, and let us know, where does this word come from? Because I'm actually really curious right now. Yeah, and I also want to know if it's ever used as a verb in any other context than StarCraft.
Well, I mean, I would imagine that it derives from proximity as well.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Is it a proxy because it's close to your opponent's pace?
Well, again,
but
like
then you think of like internet terms with internet proxies and.
Yeah, but I'm not actually sure. But for now, I mean, not too much else going on in this game. Important to note, I suppose, that Panic is actually going with 5 workers on gas right now before his cybernetic score comes up. So he's bringing in a lot of gas, but not the overwhelming Dark Templar amount that we sometimes see. Yeah,
that's definitely true. You go for really, really quick gases there. That's the double gas before Cybercore, but you get them basically at the same time in a lot of circumstances. Though there's a variation of builds, honestly. You can go for the slower DT timings and even get your gas after a Cybercore. It's entirely possible. But Stalker Beam right now for Panic. He's chrono boosting both his gateway and his cybernetics core. And basically, I'm looking for Panic for when he cuts workers.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. Both these players on close to equal amounts. I mean, Arthur looks like he was a little bit ahead or expended one more chrono boost maybe on those, so we got an additional worker out, but otherwise not too much separating our two players. And Twilight Council immediately put down on the right-hand side of the base as soon as that probe leaves. So this could very well be the Blink Suckers after this, but my DT sense is tingling.
Yeah, this is not the best map at all for Blink Stalkers. Sometimes things work on a map that shouldn't, because your opponent just does not even remotely expect them. But
oh god,
we got 2 Twilight Councils down.
Could this be one of those games where you have DTs versus DTs?
This could get really interesting.
Yeah, neither player builds a robo and they just slaughter each other, and then everyone just sits around for like 15 minutes and waits for the last structure to get picked off.
3rd gateway though for Arthur, and Panic does not throw down a 3rd gateway. It's very at this point with 2 gateways, you know that Panic's only really going to be going for DTs here. But we are waiting to see what Arthur goes for. He's very short on minerals. He's pulling a ton of gas. He's going for Dark Shrine. Probably should have waited on that 3rd gateway.
And let's see.
I think it's going to be Blink. He's selecting the Twilight Council. So
okay, so there's 150 minerals now.
Yeah, he's going Blink.
And there's Blink.
All right. So Dark Templar versus Blink. Arthur needs a robo.
Oh god.
An observer.
4-gate Dark Templar actually popping up. So, and the best part about this for Panic as well is that the Dark Shrine was actually started significantly before Blink was actually begun, so he's going to have a lot of units in there even before Panic really gets most of his forces off the ground. Yeah,
there's many ways that this tech matchup can actually go. It's not hard for Blink Stalker to actually win this because you have so much mobility, your forces can never be caught by the DTs. So you can kind of just snipe your opponent's base while, they try to kill your units. And in a base race, a lot of Stalkers are better than a couple of DTs. But because of how quick the Dark Shrine is here, because of how slow the Twilight Council was for Arthur, I was agreeing with you, Kevin. I think Panic is maybe in a little bit more of an advantageous position right now.
All right, well, a little bit of resources forced to be used there, so one less DT can actually be made, but you can see there's another pylon across the map. More DTs. No, actually just 2 DTs to begin with. The rest of this is actually just going to be pure Stalker. All the while, Arthur's actually moving across the map to the top right-hand corner.
And in the main base of Panic, we do also have quite a number of Stalkers going to town. You can see the DT is going to be slowing the DPS, but no blink for the Stalkers means that they're not really going to be able to respond to this at all. Only a single pylon powering all of Arthur's structures right now. Panic doesn't feel like taking that out for, well, a reason I'm not too sure about.
It looks like he's just worried about this huge force of Blink Stalkers. So let's actually take a look. What they're making is irrelevant now. So it's 9 Stalkers versus 4 Stalkers and 3 DTs and 2 Zealots at the moment.
Arthur's actually trying to get out of Robo so he can get an Observer on the field. He's hiding it down where? Where is it
down here at the bottom right.
There it is. And he just needs to get that Robo facility out right now.
Okay, well, Blink Stalkers running away from this DT for now. That is still a significant amount of damage that he actually has to deal with, and Blink, of course, will allow him to catch up to these units over and over again.
He found the Robo with a Dark Templar. Lots of pylons going down, so it's going to be the Robo that's targeted. The Stalkers are going to easily kill off the few Stalkers here of Panic. Those are irrelevant at this time. What he needs to be concerned about, no, he's just going to cancel the Robo. He knows he can't get out an Observer in time, and that could be the beginning of the end here for Arthur, as he has no way to deal with these structures, and there are 2 probes left for Panic. One's in the main base right now. Where's the other, Kevin? Because it can build a pylon. He has enough money.
Right, and here's the thing, too, is that not just with that, but he already has pylons across the map, and until this Nexus actually falls, these are not going to be revealed. So it's going to give time for these DTs to make their way through and cleave down all the rest of the structures, which the Zealots are actually already doing. And now without a Nexus, unfortunately, Arthur is going to be revealed. So all of his structures are going to pop up, and the DTs should be able to clean that up pretty efficiently.
Yeah, it's going to make getting a Robo down here for Arthur next to impossible. So his goal from here needs to not be concerned about, he cannot lose any Stalkers, because he has the ability here to not lose any. We can see him blinking beautifully. That's exactly what he needs to be doing right now. It's even dangerous letting them get down so low because, you know, the Dark Templar, they're cloaked, so they can easily hit one without you realizing it. But everything comes down here to a base race, a DPS race, and also a race of travel.
Yes.
You know, these buildings are far apart from each other. That lends a bit to the Stalkers.
So now there's only, you can see the total resources that are left, just enough to build 1 more robotics facility. He has 1 more chance at that. And if that one gets picked up on, that's it.
2 assimilators, though, for Panic. He does have 150 minerals. So in this situation, you don't really want to build a pylon. If you build the assimilators instead, they have more hit points and they cost less money. So he'll be able to have 2 structures, not just 1 from here.
But look how many structures are still up right now for Panic. And these are going to sit there forever, while DTs that cannot be detected on just hack away at these forever. And almost because he's being revealed, I would think that Panic would actually just send a DT around to each of these pylons and just pick those off real quick.
Yeah, he's, I'm actually really surprised that Arthur isn't targeting down those structures you were talking about earlier, because his Stalker count right now is actually quite substantial. And, okay, he's going to kill the Zealot, but the Zealot DPS is minuscule compared to that of the Dark Templar. He had to send Stalkers all the way home in order to deal with that, and now he's going to have to send them all the way back to get started on this base race that he, frankly put, is going to have a hard time winning now. There's a lot of structures with a lot of hit points here.
And he's actually down to just 8 Stalkers now, and there's still 3 DTs running around. I'm not sure why the DTs aren't going after any of these buildings. Like I said, they just need to pick off pylons right now, because if he picks off pylons, he wins the game. All he has to do then is just keep 1 DT back for defense, and then rush everything at and focus down his opponent's structures.
Well, he is doing a great job, though, at the same time of, you know, not letting the Stalkers get in there and damage his building.
Yes, you're absolutely right.
They have not gotten through any shield yet. All they've managed to kill. So he could leave, you know, 2 or 3 DTs at home defending these, while 1 DT runs around the entire map cleaning up every structure. Yeah, it'll take a little bit more time, but if he can prevent these Stalkers from doing damage to his buildings while 1 kills the rest, he wins this game.
Well, 2 DTs are still chasing these down. Now 3 DTs, so we have a little bit of a ring around the rosy here, as the DTs have actually done a good job of starting to put these in. This is really good multitask control from Panic, who is actually controlling 3 DTs in different directions at the same time, and really starts to damage these Stalkers, and that's all he needs to do is just damage them slowly.
And the reality is that they're invisible units. It does factor in this stage when you need to, you know, micro against 3 units that are cloaked. It's not like microing against 3 Zealots or something of that nature if you're in StarCraft 2 Master. This is significantly more difficult when those units are just blips and glimmers and shimmers in the air.
I almost feel like we should put this on ×8 and put the Benny Hill theme to this right now. Yakety sacks, but because it's just pretty much going to be DTs chasing stalkers around in a circle. That's the whole rest of this game, guys.
Panic wins this, honestly.
Yeah, he does.
He leaves a couple of DTs at home. One, we were talking about it, and he's now getting started.
Thank God. Okay, this is what I was waiting for. He needs to kill this pylon. That's actually not a pylon down at the bottom right, and he needs to kill the 2 pylons that are inside of his opponent's main. Because if he does that, no more robotics facilities whatsoever. The probes are spread out right now for Arthur. The idea being that as soon as he sees his last structure going down, he'll just be able to put a pylon across the map, farthest away from his opponent.
Wow, it's crazy that it's honestly so much for these players is coming down to these last minutes here, but Arthur has already taken enough damage on his stalkers to show that he's not likely going to be able to pull this off. If he does, it will be extremely impressive. But it's going to be very, very difficult for him to do. I think he might get a structure too, you know, because at one point or another, he's just going to dedicate himself to killing these structures. He knows they need to go down. So here's his chance. Let's see if he can, he should be, oh my God, this is genius. He actually can wall off this ramp well enough. But he does let them blink up into the main, though.
That's right. Okay.
If he actually spaces those DTs out on the bottom, Kevin, he can't lose this game.
Right.
It's not possible. Because the stalkers won't be able to get onto the ramp to be able to blink up onto the ramp to be able to blink into the main.
And the probe would actually do enough damage eventually that it would kill structures as
well, the other DT. I think he can wall this off with
that would take.
If he spaces them out, because stalkers are wide units, you know, they're not zealots.
All right, so we could be here for a while, though, because his only attempt now, and really this is the fight to get into IPL 6, so this is a big deal. And he doesn't want to quit out right now, but his only opportunity is to be able to do damage to these structures. That's it. He has to kill his opponent's structures.
Panic does have a probe, so he can check, he can pull up build grid. You need the Dark Templar standing directly on the lines. The ramp is going to be, you know, 3 hexes across. If it's 2, it's an easy wall off, so it's 3. And he needs to place them directly on the lines that connect block 1 and block 2, block 2 and block 3, and those stalkers are out of his base permanently.
And you see the shields are already regenning on these structures so quickly, so I mean, it's not like these stalkers have done any real permanent damage. And Arthur's just too afraid to get up there and engage for a long period of time because 3 DTs will actually cleave through this very quickly. And now, finally, Panic is going to force the issue. It weakens his position just a little bit back at home, but because of the high DPS of the Dark Templar, he should be able to make his way through these structures very quickly. Yeah,
we are approaching the point also where there will be a draw. It's a long way off, though. It will announce on the screen, and then you'll have a 5-minute period where if no mining is done whatsoever, then that's the end. But he does allow the stalkers into the main base once again. And we'll see if he can fend these off with his 2 DTs.
All right, already 1 structure's gone down. The DT is cleaving through the rest, and this is now he is now on a clock because he has to be able to.
Oh, the probes can slip in actually.
Yeah.
And give vision, and he just needs to never let these probes get caught. 1 probe's down.
Yeah. Only 3 probes remaining now, and if he's smart, he'll take out that probe right there, and he does. Okay, so Cybernetics core goes down, but the DT is cleaving through still. He's about to take out a 2nd warp gate. These are all the rest of the structures that are left for Panic, or I'm sorry, for Arthur. And Arthur, like I said, he does have probes across the map with the express purpose of putting down pylons at the very end.
Oh, and Panic lost his probe actually.
Yes.
Which now he's not going to be able to, you know, drop those 2 extra assimilators that he could have done. In the past. Arthur doesn't have time to, you know, play these games, though. He kind of needs to use, if he can blink on the other side of the DTs and get into attack right away again. I mean, he honestly kind of has to. You know what? Actually, it's a tough balance. This is crazy because, you know, the more risky he plays it, if he loses a single stalker because of that risk, he has now permanently decreased his DPS.
That's right. But he's done a good job. He's picked off 3 structures here. And he's not lost any of his stalkers quite yet. So they're continuing to keep up the pressure on these structures that have lost a little bit of shields at the very least. A couple more swipes go down, and these stalkers take.
We lost a stalker, though.
Yes,
he did lose a stalker. Now he's blinking onto the low ground. Doesn't lose any more. Very nice control there. But he has lost a stalker, which is a really, really big loss for him, and at the same time, we need to make sure Arthur doesn't get so bottlenecked that he forgets to build a pylon with that probe he has.
Right. Okay, so let's see here. As the pylons are down, I'm sorry, the probes are down at the bottom right and top left-hand corner.
He could win this, man. Arthur could win this. It's getting down to the wire here. We're gonna have a zealot.
No, he had enough for. Yeah, he did have enough for 1 more zealot warp in there, but it gets picked off immediately.
But that's helpful. That's DPS that had to be used on a zealot instead of a building. everything could make the difference here. It could come down to the very last pylon built, because remember, Arthur's going to make this DT run all the way to the top, then all the way to the bottom, assuming he doesn't make any mistakes.
He could also decide that if he has enough time and he saved enough life on these structures, he could send one DT down to the bottom right and one to the top left and keep one chasing around the stalkers for a little while.
Yeah, that's also very much possible. We're getting down to the last few structures here for Arthur. He's definitely got a lot more hit points. Panic does. More hit points in the buildings that currently exist.
Yes. All right, well.
And I would definitely not build pylons if I were Arthur. I would build simulators.
Oh, very nice blink. He actually gets out of the range of all that damage and picks off another structure.
All right, I'm worried actually, because Arthur, man, he cannot forget to build these structures. We're getting down to that time.
Yeah.
And this is definitely a mistake that, you're in this situation. You've been microing your stalkers for the last 5 minutes. It's easy to forget you even have those probes. It's easy to miss that the DT is only one structure away from being on your last building.
Right. This has been the weirdest set of games we've ever had on IPL. I just want to put that out there.
And he needs to build a simulator.
God, he
knows.
another one.
He moved his probe already to be set to build that assimilator. I love the responsibility here out of Arthur.
Okay, yeah, and he's continuing to do damage here to this Twilight Council from the low ground, so good damage being done, although, of course, these stalkers don't have a lot of life left, and he almost loses another one.
He does blink them all away, though. That was much less than ideal. It would have been a lot better to, of course, just blink one away, continue with the DPS, do a little bit of blink micro, because only one DT was actually really hitting him there. Oh, he loses another stalker, down to just 6 now, and his DPS is dwindling.
That's right.
He needs the assimilator. He needs to build the assimilator, Kevin.
Oh, it's down to already just 400 hit points remaining. Let's actually take a look at the production tab, just in case we won't miss one anywhere else. That's the health left. We're just going to look at this for the time being, because that's pretty much all. He has to build another one right now, and it goes down.
That's it. That's the end.
GG. Panic wins. Startail Panic is going to move on to face his teammate Zero in the finals of the IPL 6 Amateur Qualifier.
Let's just take a look real quick. He did, at the end of that game, managed to kill the Twilight Council. That was actually why it was such a climactic moment for him. You can see the debris is actually still collapsing and disappearing from the game.
Yeah.
So it was a big moment for him there, killing that building. And
but he lost another stalker at that too.
Yep.
All right, guys. Well, that's GG. We're going to move into the finals here in just a second. It is going to be Startail Panic versus Startail Zero, and I'm looking to see what these two teammates have prepared against each other. Yeah,
it's going to be pretty crazy seeing this go up. A lot of times you face off against teammates and the playstyles are not going to match what you actually like to play with.
Sure.
Because this is a tournament setting, so they care less about refining their skill and a lot more about winning. And if your opponent knows what you're going to do, well, you mix it up.
All right, guys. Well, we're going to run to a commercial break, and when we get back, it's going to be time for our final best of 3 of the night, Startail Panic versus Startail Zero. Don't go anywhere.